All right, everybody, and welcome. Welcome to the Speaker Spotlight. Here is what the Speaker Spotlight's all about. Do you know that today I have the newest professional member of the Florida Speakers Association on with me today? So, uh, Karen-Eileen Gordon, we're going to have some
Ah,
fun today.
we
So,
are. We
yeah,
are.
so how are you today?
Oh, sir, I am so well and so happy to be here. Thank you for asking me. It's a joy to sit down and Zoomically talk to you and get to know some of the other members. So,
Zoomically, is that a new word?
Zoomically.
Is that one of
I
those
made
words
that
that
up.
you
I'm trying to do hashtag Zoomically. It hasn't really caught on yet, but I'm
well,
working hard.
call Webster's and see if we can add that to the,
Think
to the
what a good idea.
dictionary.
Let me write that down. Here we
I
go.
mean, they're going to start.
I knew you were going to have gems. That's so I have a pen and a pencil nearby. Webster's. Okay, good. We're good. And we're
All
only
right,
like 90 seconds in, so.
all right. So I'm going to ask you the question that I get
Okay.
asked because I
Okay.
keep going. I go, yeah, Karen-Eileen, and they go, who is Karen-Eileen? So tell us, who is
Who?
Karen-Eileen Gordon, and
Oh,
tell a
goodness.
little bit about the profession that brought you to the National Speakers Association and Florida Speakers Association.
Oh my goodness, what gorgeous questions. Well, my favorite, I have some friends and mentors who have described me in some colorful ways, and here are two of my favorites. A sparkly unicorn who runs a think tank, or a psychic who has killer Excel spreadsheets. And kind of what that means is I love the world of woo woo and the mind body spirit connection and the invisible forces that affect us and things that make us peaceful and calm and thrive. And I also have a degree in economics and a specialty in international finance. And I love metrics and data and things you can track and measure. So those two things come together in me. And I've been a working film, television, voiceover stage actor for more than 10 years, very joyfully. And that's the universe that kind of brought me to the Florida Speakers Association.
Well, awesome. That's kind of the combination that I see in every person, and I'm around a lot of people
Yeah.
from the theater because my son is
Yeah.
a theater kid. So
Oh,
that's
wow.
kind of the combination of all the people that I know in the theater, right?
Yes.
They bring
Yes.
all of these wonderful, wonderful traits, these wonderful, wonderful skills,
Yeah.
but they have a different way of articulating those
Indeed.
skills than the rest of us, right?
Yeah, well, we're all unique snowflakes, aren't we? Everybody's just a gorgeous, unique snowflake. And those of us who are in the entertainment world are a little larger than life, maybe some of us, and we put them together in a different sort of way. And I think that's a really good fit for speaking. And I love it. I love my journey so far, for sure.
Awesome. Well, let's start smoothly. Let's
Okay.
first talk about some of your voiceover work. Tell
Oh,
us what
yes.
that's all about because we hear it and I hear it and I say, voiceover, that sounds great.
What
What is it?
what is it? That's you're asking such great questions. I mean, 10 million stars for these questions. That's the number one question I get asked by any of my clients or students that I coach with, either group or privately. I do a lot of that in the voiceover world. What is it? People say how to be a good fit for it. Voiceover is basically anytime you hear a voice anywhere that is not matching the lips moving of the person speaking. And so that could be a TV commercial, a radio commercial, your favorite animated movie, the documentary about the Statue of Liberty. When you call your bank, your balance is $10 million. That's a voiceover job. When you're at the airport, no parking in the red zone. That's a voiceover job. And any theme park, please keep your hands inside the monorails. That's a voiceover job. Voiceover is literally everywhere. Audiobooks are voiceover jobs. Anytime you've taken an e-learning or an e-training where the voice went along with the picture, that's a voiceover job. The world of voiceover is vast and deep. And I was coming digging around for some statistics, and the one I found was in 2017, so this is a little old now, it's worth more. The global voiceover industry was valued at about $5 billion. So it's
Wow.
significantly more now, but it's humongous and gorgeous, basically.
Humongous and gorgeous.
And video games, and anybody who's ever played a video game, that's a voiceover job. It just goes on forever. It's
Oh,
fantastic.
wow.
Hmm.
I didn't know. So I told you that I might ask any question, even though I
You're
sent you
welcome
the
to ask
potential.
anything. Go for it.
So here's the question I would ask.
Yeah.
Since you explained it that way,
Mhm.
What's been your favorite or most unique voiceover job?
Oh boy. Okay, I'm gonna give you the one that's the most popular. There's a bunch of them that have been really fun.
Okay.
The most popular one, the one that people know me from the best or know of the best, is a video game that was one of the most popular on the planet. It smashed all records, called Grand Theft Auto 5
Wow.
by a company called Take-Two Interactive or Rockstar Games. And I voiced multiple women in the population. And that audition, this is a fun behind the scenes note, as a voiceover actor, if it's a very high profile project, very often you don't know what it is until it's released. They give it a different name. They won't tell you what it's for. They don't want any leaks. The NDA that I signed was like a phone book. They're like, we're watching your social media. If you tell anybody we did this, we're going to fire you. It was very, very intense. So when I got to the session, they asked me to improvise in Mexican American Spanglish. That way, and that's what I did for these women. They had to be yelling or laughing or talking or screaming or fighting in Mexican American Spanglish. That was fantastic. And a lot of anybody in the gaming world knows Grand Theft Auto 5. It's is a little bit popular, so I was kind of taken
Right.
back by the success of that. Yeah.
I have a 20-year-old, so I know all about that
Oh,
popularity,
you know
right?
all about it. All right.
I know all
Then your
about it.
20-year-old has heard my voiceover work. I'm honored.
So,
Hmm.
so let me ask you this because that brings up an interesting thing.
Sure.
In doing my research
Uh-oh.
on you,
Here we go.
um, I did get to,
I'm ready.
did get to see some amazing highlights, and
Oh,
I
goodness.
was really impressed. I sent you an email. I said, "You're
You made
so
me.
funny."
Oh, you did say that. You did. And I said, I think I'm funny, but I'm very biased. So thank you
Right,
very
right, right.
much. Yeah.
But so expound a little bit on that because on top of your, well, probably not on top of that, but your acting
Hmm.
career, your one woman shows,
Yes.
your stand up comedy. I mean,
Yeah.
you're like global, right?
Oh, I'm global. You're making me cry on the Zoom. I'm crying on the Zoom
That's all
now.
right.
James, you've made
That's
me
all right.
cry.
So
Uh,
tell us a little bit about that part of your career.
oh my goodness, that's a giant question. Do you mean the one woman show or the comedy, or tell me, give me a container to put that in for you.
Well, let's put it in this let's put it in this container.
Okay.
In doing the acting,
Hmm.
um, how does that help you in your career now,
Oh
right?
boy.
And how has it shaped you to this career now?
Oh,
Is that a better
you.
container?
That is a beautiful container. It has flowers on it and a really nice, like, woven rope handle. It's very sturdy and organic. Okay. Uh, Beautiful, beautiful questions. The word that keeps coming to mind is storytelling. So, acting is storytelling, and so is voiceover. Whether I'm creating, let me see, like a 1959 New York broad, which I did, which was really fun, or a yelling and screaming Mexican American mama who's fussing at her kid, which I did, or whether I'm doing a documentary or selling toothpaste, all of those are stories. And as an actor, my job is to fall in love with the story and tell it in a way so that it sounds like I'm talking just to you. And the way that I do that is I find one person to talk to and connect in that way. So if I'm doing a voiceover, I'm only talking to one person. If I'm in a scene, I'm only talking to the person I'm talking to. And that transfers so beautifully to speaking work because even if we're in front of a very large crowd, Zoomically or live, I still want every person I'm talking to feel like I'm connecting directly to them. So the skill of telling a story and being able to connect one-on-one while you're doing it, I take from the acting world and drop into my speaking. That's probably been the greatest treasure
Right.
from my
You know
acting.
what? That's so important.
Yeah,
Let me ask you to go a little deeper on that
sure.
because connecting is what we do as speakers,
It
right?
is. Yes.
And being able to like of course in church they'll come out of church and they say, you know what, he was talking just to me, he was talking straight to
Yes.
me. And it's
Yes.
kind of funny because it's church because you're like, well, the message is that way,
Yeah.
but we're that way in movies, we connect.
Yes.
We're that
Oh,
way if
yeah.
we go to the theater. We're that way if we go to see a speaker. We'll say he was talking just to, maybe
It's
not just to me, but to my needs and
yeah.
to what I have going on. Speak a little bit to that.
I'm feeling very emotional. What you have said is very, very powerful. I agree. So when I'm in the middle of creating a character, I there's a lot of ways to describe it. I channel her, so I'm really in her body, in her world, and connecting as fully as I can to what she's actually going through, so that when I talk to somebody else, it's a real person talking to a real person. And in terms of speaking, I feel like the more that we're able to connect to what the message means to us and anchor that in through our own experiences, to me, it's our own personal stories that connect us most powerfully to our speaking messages. The more I can fill my speaking well with that energy and those stories, the more easily it just kind of flows out, that connection. I've now gotten to the point because of my acting training where I can sort of feel in my body if I'm connected to the material or not, whether it feels like I'm just saying some pretty words, which is valuable sometimes, right? You want to be able to speak nicely, but I always want to be able to say the words in a lovely manner and have the connection underneath it.
Right.
So I don't know if that answered your
Well,
question.
it does, but I want to ask a follow-up question to that.
Do it, yeah.
There are some characters I can think of, some actors I can think of. Bob De Niro, they talk about a lot.
Bob
Who
De
like
Niro,
once
who I
he
had
hit,
the pleasure of meeting, by the way,
see
and
you
working
name
with.
dropper, you
Uh,
name dropper.
Boom.
I was gonna drop a name later on, but I'm
No,
still
I
gonna
did it.
drop that
I
name.
did it. I have no shame. Boom. Dropped it. Boom. It's gone. It's on the floor. There it is, right on the floor.
But anyway, so that notoriously is all once he starts the project, he's always in character,
There
or at
are a
least that's
lot.
what they
Yeah.
say about it.
There's a lot of
There are
actors who work like that. Yeah.
yeah, there are some speakers who, because they are so in touch with their material, whether their materials about their story, or
Yeah.
whether their materials about their business experience, or whether their materials about their leadership skills,
Mhm.
they become in character in a
Yes.
way because that is their story. That's what they're selling when they go on stage.
Yeah.
That's what they're trying to connect with the audience with. I mean, and that's a huge piece of what we do, right?
Yes. Yes, it is. And the the cautionary space for me, for my own work, is to make sure that I'm always in it as if I'm telling it for the first time. That's a big deal. Because
Right.
as a theater actor, one of the skills you need if you're doing the same piece of theater 100 times, if you're blessed to have like a really long run, every night when you go on stage, that's a new audience who has never seen you before. Those people need to feel and act as if they're saying those words for the first time. So that's something I use a lot in speaking as well. What can I do, or how can I think, or how can I prepare so that this beautiful program that I've given 8 dozen times is completely fresh and as if it's coming out of my heart and my mind and my soul for the attendees as a fresh thing connecting to them directly. So that's important. That's
Right.
important. Yeah.
Well, I think there are a couple of, and again, I told you earlier, I've got a son who kind of grew up in the theater,
Yeah. Yes, you did.
and he's studying film at Florida
See?
Atlantic University,
Yes.
and
Hello,
so
son. If you're watching, do you want? Does he watch your stuff? Does he watch his
no, he
dad's?
doesn't. Well, I'm
Oh
outdated.
no.
He's at home listening to you on Grand Theft Auto
He
5.
is. Yeah. All right. Understood. I
You know,
understand.
you, me. I think he's picking you, right?
I'm
If he's
honored. But
smart, he's
watch your
picking you.
dad, son. Watch him. He's very
Yeah, if he's
talented.
smart,
Okay.
he's picking you.
Okay.
But anyway,
All right.
so I want to switch up for just a little bit. I could stay
Yeah.
on that forever.
It's really fun to talk about, and thank you for these lovely
Yeah,
questions.
yeah,
Thank
we
you.
were on some really good stuff, but I
Yeah.
do want to move forward a little bit
Yeah.
because uh, our last webinar we had someone talking about doing improv, right?
Ah, great.
That we
Yes.
did, that brought to our thing. So
Great.
there's so much about continuing that connection to the audience,
Yeah.
about being one with them and being there with them, right?
Yes.
Because
Yes.
in some ways we can get so caught up in what we're projecting that we lose what they're giving us back. Does
That's
that make
right.
sense?
It makes total sense.
So from your experience, like with the, and I watched your one woman
Oh,
show. I
goodness.
watched it like 3 times,
Oh,
and I just
goodness, James, thank you.
I tried to kind of pick up on on some of the stuff that you were doing,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, the importance of being able to, even though I knew that you knew where you were going, right? You would
Yes.
get some response from the audience,
Yeah.
and you would then improvise. Like sometimes it was just a
Yes.
stop, and you would go, and then you would say two words.
That's right.
But it was, I could tell it was response from the audience, not something
That's
that you
right.
had planned, right?
That's correct.
So how
Yeah.
important is being able to learn that skill of improv?
Oh, it is paramount. It's a strong thing to say it's non-negotiable, but I almost want to use that phrase with improv because it's the thing that gives me and speakers, I think in general, the confidence to stay grounded in their bodies and their material, and then reach all the way into the audience for a moment and have a real interaction, and then safely, peacefully come back to their material. That is, which I for some reason I'm talking about containers today, flower pots and baskets. It's just what's coming up. So that is the beautiful flower pot or basket that holds the overall presentation. The improv, something may happen in real time that I can't see coming, and I'm going to trust that I'll know how to respond to it and give myself the space to respond, and then come back to the core of my message without getting thrown. So improv training allows us as speakers to be very confident in that. Very confident.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna throw you. This is the question. This is the name I was gonna
I'm
drop on you.
holding on to the desk. Go
This is
for
the
it.
name I was gonna drop on you because
Uh-oh.
I love comedy.
Me too.
And had it not been for one thing, I would
Uh-oh.
be a stand-up comedian now.
Are you serious?
Yeah. I'm just
You're
not funny.
very funny. I mean,
Not
and
funny.
you are so funny. Okay, I'm talking to your son now and anybody else in your life. We all know he's very funny, right? He's very funny. So, and you have the most infectious laugh. It's just magical. Continue,
I
please.
do love to laugh. But anyway,
Yeah.
so what I was gonna say is this. I, like a lot of people don't know the writers behind some of this great comedy that comes out,
That's
right?
right.
Some
Yeah.
of the writers are actors as well.
That's
I know that
correct. Yeah.
you write,
I do. Yes.
and I know that B, you got to work with
Oh, here we go.
one of, who I think is one of the greatest comedy writers ever,
I'm getting nervous. I need my unicorn. Go ahead. Yes. Go ahead.
Larry David. I mean,
Yeah.
how do you how do you top that? And maybe most importantly for our listening audience, like what do you learn when you're working with someone that's that creative, right?
Man. Mm-hmm. That again, thank you for these amazing questions. And I had no idea this one was coming. So my favorite television job, there's probably two of them, and neck and neck are Curb Your Enthusiasm, where I got to work with Mr. Larry David, and a show on the Stars Network called Magic City, which was a 1959 cross between Mad Men and The Sopranos. Really delicious, dark thing where I was for 2 years on that series. So those two. But the thing that people know me from probably more than anything is Curb Your Enthusiasm. And so Larry David is a master at writing and improvising, both. So on that show, they're not kidding when they say that there was no script. There was a very, very light outline. And in the work that I did with him, we were in a hotel called the Roosevelt Hotel in Los Angeles. And the director came to me and said, well, Larry's going to try and kick somebody out of the hotel at 2 a.m, and you're the senior hotel clerk, so you have to stop him. Action. That was it.
And he offered you sunglasses.
He offered me sunglasses, which I didn't know either. And so in the shock that you see in that scene is real shock because I didn't know that was coming. And so in a moment like that, my improv training, which was my first training as an actor, says, respond to what's going on. What truthfully is going on? And as a speaker, that's the same thing you do. If somebody stands up in the audience and throws a bouquet of flowers on the stage, you would respond to the flowers however you authentically would respond to trust that it was authentic. But to answer your question, he's a master. He's a master, and he makes it look like there's a full script and a continuity person going, no, you forgot to say the word "the," but it's completely improvised. The whole thing was completely improvised.
Right. And I think really the reason that although I love doing the research on it, But
Thank you.
but but the reason I asked the question is
Yes.
because there are so many speakers who never move past a certain point because
Oh,
A, they're scared to be a beginner,
I see.
and B, they're afraid to reach out and touch people that are great. I mean,
Yeah.
they're great people,
Yeah.
but there's an aura to some of the speakers that we have that says, "Oh man,
Oh.
this is Bruce Turkel. Wow,
Oh, like
man,
not
yeah,
approachable. Like,
yeah. You know what I mean? But but we have opportunities in NSA and FSA
yeah.
to really reach and touch and talk to some of the greatest people in the speaking business. And I
Yes.
ask it
Excited about that.
because I want people to understand that they should not, if they want to be successful, they should not be afraid to try to learn everything they can from those people. Obviously,
Mhm.
not to imitate,
Yeah.
not to not to try to steal their stuff, but try to learn
Yeah.
what we would call a craft.
It is a
Right?
craft. That's a great way to describe it. And that's the acting is a craft, voiceover work is a craft, improv is a craft. And in improv especially, they talk about learning the rules and then forgetting them. So once you have the rules, you can play, and having a beginner's mind. I've had so many teachers and mentors say to me, a beginner's mind will serve you for your very long, healthy life, because no matter how much experience I have on set, and I've been blessed to have quite a few hours logged at this point on sets and in studios, I consider myself a beginner always. Always. I'm constantly learning something I didn't know. I'm constantly learning from somebody else on set a technique that I never would have thought of. And in the beginning, like you're talking about, I was intimidated, and I had lots and lots of people I trusted say, I want you to try on acting as if the person that you're asking for info from will be honored that you're going to them for help or assistance. And that sort of shift from some sort of ego block that I had, like, oh, I can't ask for help because that would show I don't know something and I'm supposed to know everything. Well, that's a big, big fat lie, big fat juicy lie. But the idea that people who are working at the top of their game are happy most of the time, not 100%, obviously, there's those
That's right.
rare apples, but 99.99% of the time, people are at the top of their game are honored that somebody would come to them and say, how are you doing that? Or can you give me a little advice here? They're thrilled to give back. And so, and I want to put out right now, if anybody listening has any question at all about storytelling or applying acting or voiceover or anything to your speaking work, please, 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 please. It would be my honor to give back. I've been so generously gifted that way by mentors. So please, please approach me, please.
Well, that'll be me because
Yeah.
like in person, like one on one, like I'm funny,
You're
but
so funny.
but
Yeah.
I don't write funny, right? I can't write funny because I'm thinking about
Oh,
it because it's funny. You know what I mean? Like
I
if it's
do know what you
spontaneous,
mean.
I'm funny, but I can't sit down and say, well, I've got a 50-minute keynote. I've got to be funny here or there. I get brain locked. But anyway, so
I want to tell you something, because I have clients and students who have that same issue, and this is something I'm playing with myself. So if you know you're funny one-on-one, my suggestion, and I'm trying this out, is to call somebody up that you like and have a Zoom. Just talk to them. One person, talk to them and record it. If you
right.
upload that video to YouTube, you can download a transcript. So you have a printed version of what you have told your one-on-one friend that you can be relaxed and funny with. It's just a thought
Sweet.
to get us to the zone. We're always looking for things to get us to the zone, you know.
That's a great thought. That's why
Isn't
we're
that
excited
nice?
to have new members of FSA. That's why. That's why. So
So
speaking of
good.
that, we got to land the plane. I could do this all day, but I know you're
I
busy.
know.
So, so tell me
Yeah.
what brought you to, with people say, well, she's an actress. She's,
Yeah.
all these things. She's in California for Christ's
Yeah.
sake.
Yes. Yes,
What
indeed.
brings you to NSA and FSA?
It's a thank you again. Just brilliant questions. So, along with my film and TV and stage and voiceover, I started to get requests to assist people, much like you're talking. So people felt like they could approach me to say, I see you're doing all this kind of work. Can you help me? Could you help me? And so I started, in a very small way, doing some one-on-one coaching, and then it became group coaching, and then the group coaching became bigger. And I joined Toastmasters in a really funny twist because I'm very comfortable, like you, talking one-on-one, and very comfortable in front of a camera or a giant audience or in a studio. However, in front of a group of real people, telling a real story from my real life, I was like a block of stone. Hello, my name is Karen-Eileen. Hello. And I was like, what has happened to me? So I joined Toastmasters to sort of loosen up and know that it was safe to talk as myself.
Right.
And in that group, I made the connections and started getting invited to do keynotes. And so just the giant light bulb went on from the coaching and the coaching expanding and the keynotes. And I'm like, I really would like to lean into this. And this is another way to do storytelling. When that light bulb went on, that was like I could tell stories from a stage to help a corporation or over Zoom in groups to help, leadership teams or C-suites. That was a giant light bulb for me. So as an actor, I hadn't seen that connection until I was slowly progressing as a coach and an advisor. So that's kind of what brought me the power of storytelling in a different form, yet another form to tell beautiful stories and help people.
Well, awesome. And I think one of the lessons in that for our people is that there is no one highway into speaking. There are
No,
so many roads into this business. There's so
correct.
many different avenues that you can take to
Yes.
get to where you can share your story. And I love what you said, talking to real people about my real self.
Civilians. I had to talk to civilians. I couldn't handle it in the
Yeah,
beginning. I was like,
yeah, but there's so many roads here,
so
right?
many.
And that's really, really awesome.
And they're all good roads. Like whatever your road is a good road.
Yes,
They're all good. That's the thing that's so wonderful. Yeah.
because there's only one expert on you,
Oh
and
boy.
that's you.
That's correct. That's beautiful. That's nicely put,
Yeah.
indeed.
There are
Yeah.
people who think they're experts on me, but they're
I
not.
know. There's a lot of people who think they're experts on me. And the other thing is people are allowed to think what they want, which gets a little problematic, right? They're
Right,
allowed. They're
right.
what? Okay.
Well, Karen-Eileen, it's been an
Ah,
absolute blast. It's been a treasure. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to let you take us out, give us
okay.
one gem for our Speakers Academy people,
Sure.
for our aspiring speakers, and even for just the general population of Florida Speakers Association. Give them
Okay.
one nugget, something that you've learned that they can take with them from.
Oh boy, that is really great. I'm on the verge of launching a podcast, which is both terrifying and very exciting. And I'll tell you the name of the podcast, and then I'm going to tell you the gem because they're connected. The name of the podcast is How to Calm the F Down. That's the name of the podcast. And so my biggest gem has been to take 3 to 5 minutes, and the routine can vary from person to person. Before I'm speaking to anybody, even on a Zoom or when the world is open, when we're live, to get very, very grounded and centered in my body. And that sounds really, really woo-woo, but there's a lot of hard science that says that 1 to 3 minutes of something called centered breathing. You can do alternate nostril breathing or heart-centered breathing, connects the right and left hemisphere of the brain so they're harmonious. And from that place, we stay present more fully. That muscle of staying present is strengthened before we connect. So to connect to ourselves very, very fully through breath first before we open our mouths.
Okay, awesome. Karen-Eileen Gordon, grounded, centered, and connected. I
Wow.
love it. I
Heart
love it.
emoji. There we go.
I love it. Karen-Eileen, thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
And we'll be back next week with another edition of the Speaker Spotlight.
Thank you, James. Thank you, everybody.